First story. Wife affair, seeking support. I apologize if my thoughts are not well formed. It's been a tough couple of married 14 years. D-Day was July 8th. She did not confess. She went to a conference at the end of June. Met someone there who lives in a different state, Pennsylvania, at the conference, which transitioned into EA. WW was acting differently when she got home. After a week and a half of asking what was wrong, I decided to go through her phone. I got my answer that way. I confronted her immediately, and she blamed me for her actions. I asked for counseling. She refused. She repeatedly told me she doesn't know what she wants. I later found out that she had a second phone number, which she was using to maintain communication. I asked her to move out. She was disrespecting me and our 4 children. That very same day she told me she broke it off and was ready to start counseling. This was on a Friday, maybe 2 weeks after D-Day. The weekend that followed was tense. She was snapping at the children and generally unpleasant. She said she was sad about what she lost. She said she wants both me and AP. AP is married, by the way. They are both counting on me to keep my mouth shut. He has a wife and 3 kids. He has no interest in blowing up his family. I know I shouldn't be making any decisions, especially when everything is raw, but I offered her a deal. Break the affair off. Work on our marriage, and we can talk about opening up the marriage. Suddenly a switch went off, and she was ready and agreeable to putting the work into our marriage. This did not feel great. I started feeling like I was being used. Since she was ready to start working on our marriage, she asked to resume platonic conversations with AP. I agreed. The feeling of being used did not go away. 2 days ago I demanded non-contact, and she came back to me the day after telling me she doesn't know if she can be happy with me, for her to be willing to work with me. She wants both. It's been a hectic 3-ish weeks. It is worth noting that she has a conference end of October. AP is going to be in attendance. They already had plans in place from when I caught her the second time. I guess any advice is welcome. If anyone has gone through something similar, what happened in the end? I see. I still want reconciliation, but it has to be at a price I can pay. I can only compromise so much. Update. I know I need to telling the OBS's leverage can use against the AP. Tell him it's over, and if I find out it's not, I will go nuclear. I know I had to tell his wife, his employer. I'll take out a billboard in his hometown. At least that is an option or a card I have to play. Or can tell his wife now and hope the fallout from that turns him around. But it didn't in the case of my wife. If I do that, I have to be ready on my own end too. The limerence thing is real. Affair fog. Whatever. I have to have a plan to get her out of it and then deal with how she feels when she comes around and realizes what she has done. It is not fair, but betrayed spouses often have to be so much stronger because they have to pull themselves through, and they also have to pull the betraying spouse through. My WW not very deeply regrets what she did and is very ashamed of it. But she act that way when she got caught. If I offered an open marriage, and will she lit up? Well, open marriages only work when there is clear upfront communication, no secrets, no lies, and rock-solid boundaries for everyone involved. Everyone involved, includes AP's wife, needs to know the truth of what is about to go on. So feel free to fire off whatever proof I have. It will have no effect on their professional lives. I should not be the one to shoulder the weight of secrecy, while my wife gets to fuck this married man on the side while his wife is completely oblivious to the fact. Moreover, they are counting on me, the betrayed partner, to protect them? When did she protect me? If roles were reversed and the AP's spouse knew, would I want her to tell myself? I can tell me that old WP told one friend about their infidelity, and I still hold a grudge against the friend for not telling the truth. Granted, I logically know this doesn't make a lot of sense, but my raw emotional side sees that the mutual friend never let on to me. I know his wife needs to know, especially if I are compromising and allowing her to continue the affair. What am I getting out of that compromise? The price of keeping a cheating wife? No, the compromise should be all parties are okay with the situation, meaning the AP's wife must know too. WW needs to give something for this to be a compromise. I'd give some solid boundaries to her and be prepared to act if they are broken. If I really don't want an open marriage, give a boundary of figure out if I want to stay or go by end of year. This does not need to be a one-sided decision. I can say we both need to decide. Maybe this will help her to not compartmentalize me and AP in October, and she can go into that conference knowing she is actively making a decision that will either help or hurt the marriage. It also allows to really consider if I can tolerate this behavior long term, or if in the long term, I'd be happier without her. I seriously know that's a hard decision when I love someone, but I don't know if I could handle the worry an open marriage would create. I'd be completely dysfunctional with worry that my spouse would find someone else who is worthy of leaving me for, and I'd rather live without him despite how painful that would be, than live with the even more painful daily worry of where he is with our marriage. Sure, I have established some boundaries, though. I also know for sure she can sneak around behind my back if she chooses. There's no way I can account for every electronic method of communication. She's trying to compartmentalize and also argue that the affair and our relationship are two separate things, when they are most definitely connected. I am done crying over this though. Now, she begged not to say anything to OBS out of her self-preservation. I know OBS deserves to inform today. I'm sorry I'm going through this. If I want an open marriage because it's something I truly desire, that's one thing. But if I want an open marriage for her because she's not happy, I will never be happy and I need to focus on my happiness and survival right now. How do I feel if one of our children's spouses cheated on them, and our child continued to know and allow their spouse to have an affair? It would break my heart and it wouldn't be fair. It breaks my heart now and it isn't fair. She's stuck in the fog and she's saying a way to get everything she wants. She already went this route and betrayed our family. In this moment, she is not capable of caring about and prioritizing her family, and it's showing itself again and again. OBS needs to know now. They deserve to know. I'd want to know. It's not fair to leave them in the dark. I won't be doing anything wrong, even though WW will make me feel like it. This is a consequence of her and AP's choice. What will most likely happen is OBS will force no contact, AP will choose OBS and my wife will get dumped. She will be upset about all of this. She will make me feel like I betrayed her. I know I'm not, I simply doing the right thing and she doesn't want to continue facing the consequences of what she's done. And she is in limerence as I go through this process. I will read and educate myself and realize I'm doing what so many before have done. Doing the pick-me dance begging for the love and affection of my wife that has thrown me to the curb. I did it before, I'm still here, I regret it. If R is what I want and my goal, I will never get R if she doesn't prioritize my feelings, my safety and pick me on her own. If she is not willing to pick me, then I deserve better and deserve someone that will. I know she needs to go NC, non-negotiable. No exception and probably not go to her work conference. I've seen on here that people don't agree with once a cheater always a cheater, and I doubt previously. But I've also seen once an AP always an AP and I also agree. There is no opportunity for their relationship to simply be platonic and professional now. Their friendship was poisoned the moment they lost sight of their boundaries and there's no going back. If I decide to pursue R, it will be tough. It will be tough on myself, it will be tough on her. And when she needs comfort that can't provide because I'm broken and spiraled down, she will try to go to another place of comfort. And if AP is available, that's where she will land. And the comfort won't be that of simple friendship. My friend had some similar experiences with WW years ago. He didn't even know she was cheating at the time, but her behavior toward him was so bad that he found the end of the rope and asked her for a divorce. That snapped her out of it. She figured her issues out and fully committed to him. My WW is in limerence with this guy. I know allowing the idea of an open marriage and allowing contact with AP, it will only enabling that. The only way to stop this is by protecting our family and our children and putting up a boundary with firm consequences. Finally, figure out when to contact the AP's wife. She has the right to know her husband is cheating on her and to make her own choices for how she responds to that. I already know how to contact the wife. I have proof. I have messages from the husband admitting to what happened. I was begged to not say anything since this happened at a professional conference, which was paid for by WW's employer. Some reason about professional reputation and whatnot. I need to out AP and I need to notify WW's work. My wife isn't concerned with me and our children. She is more concerned about AP and her own reputation. I'm all for I'm working on it in my own marriage. I truly want to be able to work things out for myself and our kids. However, that isn't gonna happen by being a doormat. Unfortunately, opening up the relationship will not work. The foundation is already compromised. That would have only been possible if we both wanted it and she didn't already cheat. I have to make it clear what my wife has to lose. She needs to move out and figure her life out if she can't make up her mind. She needs to explain to the kids and family why we are separating. She needs to tell AP wife what they did. She needs to tell her HR at work what she did on a work-funded trip. She needs to find a new career. She needs to face the consequences of her selfish choices. Only then do I have the slightest chance of rebuilding our marriage. Now I need to speak with an attorney right away. Even if I don't want to divorce, learn about my options. Keep in mind the AP is in another state, and she would most likely get primary custody. If she thinks things might work out with AP, she will portray me as an unfit father, so she can get full custody and be at liberty to move our kids out of state away from me. I have way more to lose than our marriage at this point. Set boundaries and stick to them. Stop with trying to please her. Second story. I, 43M, found out my ex, 33F, was married the whole time. Do I tell the husband? Found out my long-distance ex of 2 years was married the whole time and disappeared offline after getting pregnant with another kid to her husband. Should I tell the husband she's been cheating on him for years? Her having kids is the only thing stopping me currently, as I don't want them to have a broken home. During COVID and lockdown I, 43M, met my ex, 33F. Gonna give her the random name Sarah for this. In an online situation which I know that some people will disregard as not being a genuine thing, and that's fine, whatever. But it was during lockdown, so I was stuck inside most days, and I'd just gone through 2 very shitty relationships of people that were local. I wasn't planning on anything online at all, but we just clicked and stayed talking for a while. Anyway, Sarah and I ended up being a thing for about 2 years, and we both seemed pretty committed to the idea of meeting up and being a genuine part of each other's lives. We would talk for hours all day, nearly every day, and she had kids that she would tell me about all the time, and I even played Xbox with them sometimes, so they knew I existed too, which is what makes it all a bit more confusing with what did eventually happen. Now, there have always been some unusual parts about the whole situation, which at the time I did brush off as I was in a pretty bad place mentally. And it was lockdown, so I think I subconsciously wanted to tell myself things were okay just so I didn't have the possibility of being lonely. For starters, I was 19 when I met Sarah, and she was a 30-year-old parent of 2 that she didn't initially tell me about having kids until a couple of months after we started talking. But her having kids didn't bother me, it was more the secrecy of it all at first. She would also be very quiet on weekends and less active compared to weekdays, where she was never offline and always talking to her friends and I. She also tried to keep her friends on there separate from me, as she felt there would be drama, as some of them didn't like me for some unspecified reason despite me never speaking to them. After about 2.5 years of being a thing and making all these plans, things got a bit bumpy, and we would talk less, and this went on for a few weeks, but we just put it down to being busy, and her getting a new job that required her to be in an office. We still talked when we could though, and that was still every day, just not as much, and we never steered from being a thing. Then one day she just vanished without a word, never replied to any of my messages, never came back online again. Just nothing at all. So I start panicking and thinking, oh my god, has something happened to her? Is she dead? Which I feel is understandable considering she had disappeared without a word. A few weeks go by and I still hear nothing. I've checked obituaries and things where I had her as a friend elsewhere to see if she'd been on, and nothing. It was kind of driving me crazy not knowing what happened to her at all. Then one day I remembered she had a Facebook account, which I had never had an account myself, so I decided to make one and search her name. I found her Facebook account, and that also led to me finding out just what had happened. It turned out that Sarah had still been married the entire time, and her husband worked at some oil place that kept him away from the home in the week. Not only did I find out that she was still married, it turned out that the reason she did just disappear one day was because she had become pregnant with another child of his. I was so angry and hurt that she had happily wasted 2 more years of my life for her own entertainment, and I tried contacting her to tell her I knew what she had done, and that she'd been a liar the whole time, to no response. Then a few months later, she's back online and doesn't respond to a single thing I've said, and she starts going about her life like she owed me nothing, no apology, no real explanation. I had to confront her about it when she was online after a year of being gone, and all I got was more lies and self-pitying answers. I'm torn on whether or not I should tell her husband that she had been cheating online for years and leading me on into being a part of it unknowingly, and honestly I think I probably wasn't the only person she did it with, considering how she kept me separate from people and how easy it seemed to be for her to keep up a lie. The only thing that stopped me telling him is her kids, as I don't know if it's fair for their home to be potentially broken up over something that they didn't do. It's kind of wild since I was in an identical situation to this many years ago. There were a few differences though. We were both married and looking for something more. I'm not saying it was okay or right, but just to level set, we were both on the same page. I was much younger. She lived several states away, so meeting in person wasn't an option. But we did connect, and I got emotionally invested pretty quickly. I made this obvious to her and she didn't do anything to discourage it. Looking back, a lot of details about the situation are obvious. She was just a bored and lonely housewife looking to spice things up in her life. Anything she said about caring about me and valuing me was just to make herself better. We connected and got close for over 2 years, and she eventually started talking to me less and less till she disappeared completely. Our last conversation was over Skype, where she literally disconnected the call midway through, while I was mid-sentence. After that, she never reached out again. I also tried to reach out and get an answer since I was worried something had happened to her. It took a few months, but I eventually dug up an old phone number she gave me and texted her. Turns out, she'd also gotten pregnant and had decided to clean up her online antics. Instead of getting an apology or a proper explanation, all I got was desperate pleading not to tell her husband. I was pretty disgusted since it's obvious she just cared about herself. I realized any emotional attachment had been completely one-sided, and I was an idiot for thinking it meant anything. My big takeaway here was to be skeptical of any online attachments, especially ones where things don't actually develop into a proper relationship. I try and learn as much from the experience and can then move on. Unfortunately, these kinds of lessons aren't easy to handle, but they're part of life. I need to focus on healing and learning to protect myself better for next time. Don't take as much at face value and demand more if I'm serious about wanting something real. If someone refuses to meet halfway, then take it as a red flag and move on. The last thing he wants is being on the hook for another 2 years for someone who's stringing him along. As for whether to tell her husband, I definitely think he deserves to know, but in my case, I knew it'd just lead to more drama for myself that I didn't need. My mental well-being was more important than getting some kind of spiteful comeuppance on her. Odds are, if she was involved with multiple people and there's possibly someone else who was hurt even more, let one of them take up the torch. He just needs to move on and work on himself. So, should I tell her husband? Third story. Wife cheated with coworker. I feel so low and destroyed. Where do I go from here? Sorry if this is long. I needed to vent and could really use some words of advice or encouragement. I, 48M, have been with my wife, 48F, for over 26 years and we have an amazing kid together. Admittedly, we haven't been in the best place in our marriage for a few years, and I think I'm as much at fault in this as she is. Intimacy was lacking, due to her having basically no drive, and we kinda fell into a rut. So no, it wasn't perfect, but it was comfortable. I sometimes tried to talk to her about things I found lacking, or about what she needed from me. This mostly ended in her getting defensive because she felt like I was blaming her. I admit I can be firm in the words I use to say things, or in her claiming everything was fine, that I was just being too sensitive. Well, as you guessed it, everything was not fine. But she only realized this after having an affair, and I really feel like I didn't deserve this. A few weeks ago she told me a co-worker, 49M, had kissed her on a drunken night out. At first it was all one-sided. My wife claimed she didn't want this and ended things immediately. She was very emotional and I hugged her and told her I mostly felt bad for her. But so much has happened since then. I uncovered a new truth every single day. At first it was about her knowing the AP had feelings for her, then about how she could imagine AP being someone she could develop feelings for, then admitting AP wasn't just her type psychically but also personality-wise, then admitting to having feelings. The more I pushed and researched, admittedly I got a bit obsessed and checked her phone, her email and everything, the more I uncovered. In the days that followed she went from I want to fight for you to I need space to we're too different to even try. All while lying to me over and over and constantly keeping in close contact with the AP, which she repeatedly insisted wasn't the case. I should just trust her, right? Well, I didn't, and snooping once again gave me the answers I needed. I was angry and so sad, but eager to go to therapy both individually and as a couple to at least try to make it work. In the first session, she seemed willing and forthcoming and was very adamant that she actually would like to try to see where we could go. She even said she wanted to cut contact with the AP, at least until the next therapy session. Well, I found out she didn't even last a single fucking day, and lied about it too again. When I confronted her about her lies and leading me on, she told me I'm suffocating her with all my emotions and questions about the affair. That we're too different anyway, we are very different people, to even try to make this work. And that she has done too much damage anyways. I was devastated and felt so unworthy and betrayed that I completely broke down. Her reaction was to check into a hotel to think about our relationship, but of course she fucked AP instead. Come the next day she's doubting everything again, denying AP was at the hotel, claiming she isn't making any choices right now, that she needs time and space, but only from me, as she was not willing to end things with AP right now because she isn't making any decisions. As time went on, kept on discovering new truths. That first kiss turned out to be very much consensual and wasn't just one kiss, and they've also kissed after that at work. They've sexted while I was in bed crying, had sex at AP's house. I even found texts saying they love each other. And these are only the bigger truths I uncovered. There were so many more lies in such a short amount of time, I can't even name them all. And now here I am, a shell of my former self, the gaslighting and trickle-truthing destroying me day by day. Is it even trickle truthing if I have to find out everything myself? My life upside down in a matter of weeks, and for what? Someone she's not even known for 2 months? Everything is constantly triggering me. She is constantly triggering me, and everything that needs to be arranged is paralyzing me. My sweet, amazing kid is the joy of my life, but right now all I can feel is sadness at the thought of not having her in my life every day. And I just want to talk to my wife about everything, but I can't because every time I bring it up, she keeps blaming me, telling me I'm impossible to talk to, telling me my emotional reaction after the affair only drove us further apart, telling me she is in pain too, that it's my own fault for reading her messages, that she is allowed to be egocentric for once in her life. And I just feel so fucking emotionally unstable and lost. I already had low self-esteem, but knowing she's replaced me with someone more beautiful, she really is, and repeatedly claiming I'm at least part of the issue, and constantly going back and forth with me is destroying me and making me doubt myself so much all the time. I have friends and family to talk to. I will get therapy. I know I will survive this. But right now it's all just so fucked up. And I'm so pathetic. I still wish she would just love and want me back.